all of the problems in this community and to find the solutions that will bring peace, prosperity, and love to our community so that we can finally stand tall as men and women controlling our own destiny. Now make sure to call in at 313-868-4336, 313-868-0351, and 313-868-0342. Remember, a community meeting with Detroit with your host, Brother Muhammad, every Sunday at 12 noon, right here on your community TV radio stations.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just, I greet all of you within the sound of my voice with the greeting words of peace from the Lord of the worlds, Allah's Salam Alaikum. And I'm very happy once again to be in Detroit, live with you on the air, as we always live when we are teaching, but we're not always in the studio. Most of the time we on the phone. But I want to introduce a very special guest we have this evening, Professor or Dr. Vibert White Jr., and I'm going to tell you a little about him before I allow him to introduce himself to you. And would you please plug me up to the internet, give me a cord for the internet plug-in on the phone, on this computer, please. Oh, y'all pardon me a moment. And while we edit, would you please play the, I know it's not finished. You know, I like to, you know, there's an old saying, practice what you preach. We good for telling people that we ought to support one another and stick by each other. But oftentimes we don't do that unless somebody is under the table greasing our palm or something. And I just want you to know that that's not what I'm about. You know, I like to do what the Holy Quran says. It says, do no favor seeking gain. Because if you did it with the ulterior motive of, you know, well, grease my palm and I'll do this for you. Well, it was not a good that you was doing. You was practicing capitalism. You see. The good that you do should come from you for Allah's pleasure. So, you know, that's not to say that. Now, understand something. I'm not against you going in business. I'm not against you trying to make money. But if you want to become a good person, you can't just go around doing good because you think you're going to get something back from somebody that you do it to. Do you understand? The good that you do is to help to mold yourself into an habitual doer of good things. The more you do anything, the more it becomes a habit with you. And that's why the Holy Quran say the good that you do is for your own soul. You see? So, but you know, when it's always good when we can show that we mean what we say. you know, because we fall short. There's not one of us that don't fall short. Even the messenger of God, who in Scripture is metaphorically called the glory of God. You know, just like the light bulb is the glory of the electricity. It shows forth the light-giving properties that's hidden in electricity as it's passing through a wire. The man of God is called the glory of God simply because you see the word on paper. When you read the scriptures on paper, it's one thing. But when that word gets into the mind of the one who is the man of God, then you start to, for the first time, see the light of understanding that was hidden in there that before you couldn't find. Do you understand? So the scriptures say all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, meaning fallen short of the man of God. I mean, we all fall. If I didn't fall short, then Allah would not have said that I could deliver my soul by giving you warning from him. Why does my soul need delivering if I didn't fall short? You see, do you understand? And so when me being a human with frailties and weaknesses like you makes me a fit judge for you, because I can relate to what happens to you because it happens to me too. You see, and I can empathize with it without becoming sympathetic to it. If it's wrong, you don't want to sympathize with wrong. You may empathize with it. You may understand how a person can fall into it, but as the representative of Allah, I have to forbid it. I have to tell you, no, that ain't gonna go. Do you understand? You got to do better than that. It's in you to do better than that. Otherwise, Allah would not have forbidden it. Do you understand? So, but before we get into this, I want to play that advertisement for this Foodland market. Now, that's not to exclude all of the other like the bookstore. See, now I guess a little tie-tongue here. Truth Bookstore and all of the Love's Tires and all of them, but you hear about them all of the time. And I want you to get used to, matter of fact, you put Foodland in the lineup, brother, and make sure that people hear about Foodland regularly. And I'm still, I had me some of that good yogurt that they sell over there. It's frozen yogurt. It tastes just like ice cream. And so I had me some of that mixed with some sunflower seeds. It was delicious. But anyway, play the promo for Foodland.
Welcome to Metro Foodland, where you will always find courteous service. Our hardworking staff always gives their all to maintain our dairy fresh and wholesome products, cold cuts, premium meats, and of course, we have some of the freshest produce around. Check out our deli and bistro. We also carry specialty items such as Tanisha Noni, Water Station Alkaline Water, and much, much more. If we don't have it, just ask, and we'll do our best to get it. Remember to ask how to join our Health and Rewards Club. Seniors and ladies, always ask for an escort to your vehicle. We'll see you soon at Detroit's own community grocer, Metro Foodland, located at 18551 Grand River. That's 18551 Grand River, near Finkel and the Southfield Freeway. Remember, that's Metro Foodland.
So I want you all to, our people, to go over and do your grocery shopping over at Foodland. And support the Brothers Market. I mean, there's a lot of our people got jobs over there. And, young people. And adult, older brothers and sisters. I mean, so when you see a brother doing what you say you want black people to get up and do for themselves and help themselves and all that, and you say it's time for us to do for ourselves and whatnot. Well, you see a brother over there got a supermarket. I mean, it's got everything that you expect to find in a supermarket, and some things more. And you go over there and cultivate it. Get you a basket and fill it up. Do your groceries over there. And support the brothers' market, so that those brothers and sisters who work in there can keep their jobs. Do you understand? And we make it good enough, then he can justify giving them a raise because he got a raise. Always whenever profits come, whenever you in business and you work your people, you make sure that you practice some of the good that you saw Caucasian people do. I know some Caucasian companies, they give you what's called profit sharing. That's to encourage people. See, when the company making more money, they happy because they gonna get some more money. Do you understand? That's how you make people happy, that you getting something. If you share it with the people, then they'll be happy for you every time you get something, because they got some good motivation, because they know every time something more come to you, they gonna see a little more themselves. And that's just good business sense. A happy employee will make happy customers, because if the employee is happy when they deal with the customers, that happiness is going to translate into good service. You understand? So you keep the employee happy, and that the way to keep them happy is to, when more money, when the business is profitable, let them get their bonuses and let them treat each other right. Now, we have with us Dr. Vibert White Jr., and he was born on July 14th, 1958, New York City, New York, and he's divorced and a single parent. And his religion is Islam, and his parents were Vibert and Lorraine White, hence he's junior, and residence Orlando, Florida, and his educational background is Southeast High School, Bradenton, Florida, 1976 was when he graduated, and Bethune Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida, and he graduated in 1980 and got a Bachelor of Arts degree. From Purdue University, West Lafayette, Indiana, he got his MA in 1982. And the Ohio State University in 1988, he got his PhD. Excuse me for saying got his, but I didn't get none of that. So I guess we should say received his. Professional experience, his background is professor of history, University of Central Florida, Columbia College, University of Illinois at Springfield, Blackburn College, University of Cincinnati, Union Institute, and University of Cincinnati in Bloomberg University. And the specific areas of his expertise are constitutional and legal history, social and labor history, 20th century American history, African American history, Afro-Latino and Afro-Caribbean history, premier expert on Islam, a premier expert on Islam in the United States. Well, I'm definitely interested in talking with him. Major consultant agencies and institutions that he has been associated with: Ohio Historical Society, the Chicago Historical Society, Cincinnati Historical Society, Illinois Historical Society, Smithsonian Institute, Florida Historical Society, Orange County History Museum, Maitland Historical Society, Winter Park Historical Society, Wells Built Museum, Florida Humanities Council, and the U.S. State Department. The governmental appointments were, he was a White House Commission, he was appointed to the White House Commission on Travel and Tourism from 1994 to 2002. The governor's appointment, Charlie Crist, Historical Advisory Board, from 2008 to 2009. Governor's appointment by Governor Jeb Bush, Haitian Americans Affairs, and he was that from 2004 to 2005. And a host of other commissions. Governor's Commission, George Ryan of Illinois appointed him African American and Hispanic Affairs from 1998 to 2002. And his major political nominations and appointments: Senator John Glenn, an Ohio Democrat, nomination to White House Commission, nominated him to White House Commission on Travel and Tourism. And Senator Peter Fitzgerald, a Republican, nomination for ambassador post to Guyana or South America. Guyana in South America. You know where that Jonestown thing was? Yes. Florida History Council, and Governor Charlie Crist, the Haitian American Governors Commission, Governor Jeb Bush. And he was a candidate for an Orlando City Council in Orlando, Florida in 2010. He ran for that office. Social organizations that he has been a part of and is a part of: Chair of Educational Committee, Orange County National Association for the Advancement, the NAACP, Advancement of Colored People, National Urban League, Rotary International, League of Women Voters, and La Raza Phi Beta Sigma. And professional organizations, he was the director of the Civil Rights Historical Association, vice president of African Research and Science Institute in Chicago, Abraham Lincoln Association, American History Associations, Organizations of American Historians, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, Association of Caribbean Studies, as BRASA, or Brazilian Studies Association. And businesses, AFC Enterprises, VSN Enterprises, and El Barrio Boxing. And major books he has written. One in particular is the Inside the Nation of Islam and Pullman Porters of Winter Park, Florida, and contributor to National Urban League's The State of Black America. And a work in progress is a testimony of a single father raising my son, quote unquote, raising my son. That's the title of a new book he's writing. So I'm going to dispense with the rest of this bio. It is very impressive, and I'm going to also try to let you hear some of the video that was done by Dr. White in 2001. But first, I want you to, matter of fact, I think I will let you hear some of it now, and then we will go from there to Dr. White himself. But I was just, you know, it was very interesting, some of the observations that he made, and I thought I would let you hear some of it. This is from a C-SPAN interview that he had, and so give it a minute.
Sound is sometimes even stranger.
Okay, give me some microphone here, bro.
Dr. Bronson looked at me, and they saw something within me. They looked at my potential, and they molded something. Even though I thought I was a rebel or a revolutionary or some type of counterculturalist on campus, they said to themselves that boy is going to become somebody. And I'm glad that you did, because Bethune-Cookman College was my foundation. When I left, I went to Purdue. I was ready for Purdue. The Boilermakers couldn't tell me a thing. And when I left Purdue, I went to Ohio State, where I finished my PhD in history in 4 years because of Bethune-Cookman College. So again, you must give your school another round of applause. I've been trying to get back to this great school for some time. I always wanted to talk to my friends, my family, the people who molded me. And I'm thankful to Mrs. Graham and her staff, the administration, and affording me the opportunity to come before you and to speak about some of the things that are important to this day and period and time that we're living in. As you know, the title of my book is called Inside the Nation of Islam, a historical and personal testimony by a black Muslim. And it's about my history, my struggle, my movement within the organization, and how I rose through the ranks of that organization to become a minister and advisor to the leadership. And ultimately, my travel through the group until I decided to lead the organization. How did it all begin? Why did it begin? In the late 1970s, I was one of thousands, perhaps millions, of African Americans who longed for a leader like Malcolm X, like you. I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I read his speeches. I reviewed his lectures and followed his ideas of black nationalism. I was hungry for a new type of black leadership. I believed at that time in the early or the late 1970s in the concept of fighting for freedom and justice and fighting against the ills of racism that have plagued our society. So in my mind, with the void of leadership that was based on the deaths of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton of the Black Panther Party, and scores of other black activists, I was well suited to hear the words of Louis Farrakhan, who sounded like the rebirth, the new Malcolm X. Farrakhan at the time was the national spokesperson for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. And he was rebuilding a movement, a concept that rested on, again, black nationalism, self-help principles, and race unity. I like these ideas. These were tasty words from my mouth. Living in a Caribbean and Central American home, I was reared with a steady dose of race pride and solidarity and courage and a passion for leadership. My parents read stories to me about such great leaders like Toussaint Louverture of Haiti, Nat Turner, and Booker T. Washington. In fact, before the age of 10, I knew a great deal about the black histories in Costa Rica, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, and of course the United States. You see, again, at that time, in the late 1970s, I was ready to hear a new voice, a speech, a concept that talked about radical black thought and black nationalism, things that seemed to be the greatness and the need for the race. Another issue that caused me to gravitate towards the nation was the seemingly open hostility of white America towards the black underclass. For instance, at this time there was new discussions about reverse discrimination. It was new at the time, reverse discrimination. And it seemed as if there was an attack on affirmative action. Because at this time, again, we as black Americans were talking about moving into the mainstream of American society, of American life, of the political and economic structure of our society. But it seemed to be a backlash in the late 1970s with this. In reference to law cases, for instance, there was a great deal of discussion about Dufonis, the Weber case, as well as the Bakke case. Even in this very chapel, there were great discussions and arguments about what was going on in black America and affirmative action. I saw it as a backlash by whites to black America. If you had suggested that white America was tired of the civil rights movement, an idea that white America was saying, now, black people, you're on your own. You can do what you will because you have millionaires, you have people in corporate America. To me, it was a backlash. The idea coming from white America was, black people, stop the complaining. Stop the belly aching about the evils of white society. I couldn't understand this at the time. Because at this very same time while this thought was going on, there was a great deal of violence that was taking place in our society. As some of you can remember, well, none of you, if you weren't even a thought at the time. But some people that was in my class and professors can remember that at this time in the late 70s and early 80s, there was a great deal of violence, racial violence in places like Miami, Tampa, Jacksonville, Atlanta, scores of activities. There was the rebirth of the KKK and the growth and development of a new group that we called the skinheads. There was hostility, anger, violence, bloodshed against black America. So, I was ready to hear the sweet words of Louis Farrakhan at that time. Farrakhan hit the lecture circuit like a new and better Malcolm X. He was fiery. He spoke about the evils of America, the greatness of the black community, the need for an Islamic nation in the United States. He said his first lecture right in this chapel. He was invited by one of the professors in history at the time, I think by the name of Bruce Cosby. And that's what I needed. Sounded great. So I started to read the books. Read the books about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Such books as Message to the Black Man, Our Savior has arrived, How to Eat to Live, volumes 1 and 2, The Fall of America, and several other manuscripts and articles. I read more about black culture and society. I read things about class and gender and Marxist and Maoist thought. These things were liberating thoughts to my mind because I wanted to learn, I wanted to understand, I wanted to liberate the black race. I had a passion for our society. I followed this course. It should also be mentioned that by my senior year, I was reading, not only reading, but I was walking and talking and dressing sometimes like a Muslim, bow tie. The only thing I didn't have at the time was a beer pie and a final call with me. But everything else, I was following that trend. And it's also interesting to note, before I go on, is that, this college, even though this college is a United Methodist institution, it gave me the opportunity to explore my religious, my social, my political growth. It gave me that opportunity. It didn't have to, but it did. My activities at Bethune-Cookman College, in reference to the Nation of Islam, were part of a larger and a longer journey for self-understanding. It must be understood that college and university experience is a time to grow and to explore academic fields, but it is also a period to develop one's maturity and consciousness in every area of their life. For instance, as I stated, I played with the ideas of communism, Maoism, political democracy, and capitalist ideas. I explored and questioned Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and spiritual belief systems that are practiced in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Yes, in some ways I was confused, but I was always on the right track. Thus, I studied not just the assignments that were presented to me by such great professors like Dr. Taylor, Dr. Charles, and Dr. Wiley, but materials that I searched and found that could better my life. You see, I was not just concerned about grades, but about thought, intellect, and substance. In 1980, I graduated from Bethune-Cookman and entered the great halls of Purdue University. I believe that I was the first graduate of Bethune-Cookman College to earn a fellowship at Purdue University, I believe. Entry into Purdue was a strange event for me. My 4 years at BCC was radically different than the environment in West Lafayette, Indiana. How? First, I left a small black liberal arts institution to attend a major Big Ten university that was known globally for its research and engineering. My colleagues, primarily at Bethune, were American blacks with a sprinkle of Hispanics, a dash of Persians, and another dash of West Indians. At Purdue, every race, nationality, political thought, and religion was represented. Lastly, I was engaged in discourse with brilliant people who had graduated from such institutions like Brown University, Harvard, Columbia, Ohio State, Stanford. Indeed, I was shocked, impressed, and at first scared. But in a few weeks, I came to understand that I, at Purdue, I was as smart as all my other peers, or they were just as dumb as me. I believe in the former. At Purdue, I finished with outstanding records. My time at Purdue brought me closer to the small but growing Nation of Islam and its leadership, Louis Farrakhan. On occasional weekends, I journeyed to Chicago, from Lafayette, which is only about 2 hours away, to study under the tutelage of Louis Farrakhan and several of his associates. It felt as if I was speaking to a disciple of God. Other occasions, I participated with activities with Muslim communities, with the Muslim community in Indianapolis, Indiana, a smaller but a homely group. My story is this. My story is the journey of 15 years within the Nation of Islam. A 15-year period that I was able to critique and analyze not only an organization that stated it represented the best interests of the black community, but also a leader who argued and maintained that they were concerned about the needs, the fear, and the aspiration of black America. This is my story. Now the question comes in. Why did I write the book? Why did I write Inside the Nation of Islam? First of all, when I started to write the book, it was more for a therapeutic reason. I had collected over 15 years of diary writing, journal writing. I just started to write and to record what took place in my years. Then secondly, as I started to write even more, I started to question what was the meaning and what is the meaning of the Nation of Islam and what should it mean to black America. You see, what was happening is that in the 1980s now, as a minister of the organization, the Nation of Islam had taken on a pattern of what I consider highlighting controversy, exploiting working class people and the black underclass for the leader's own political gain. I had to write this story. Now, I wrote this story at a time when the Nation of Islam was at the height of its strength. You know, sometimes we as scholars like to write materials about a man or a woman or organization long after the organization or the man or woman has died. It's easy to do that. One of the things that I learned at Bethune-Cookman College was to have courage at all times. I wrote the manuscript when the Nation of Islam was at the pinnacle of its strength, in spite of people who said to me, "But listen, Professor White, you're putting your life on the line for writing such a manuscript." Even though people said to me that I had no business to write about a black leader who is especially trying to do good for black America, I questioned that, because in my understanding of history and the structure of black America is that we must follow the discourse and the line of people like W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and all these other great men and women who put themselves on a line for truth. And you, my friends, if you cannot write the truth and state the truth at the time that is going on, then you're not a scholar, you're not an activist, you're not even a student. In fact, what you will be a parasite. In fact, there's a person by the name of Charles Hamilton Houston, who was the dean of the Howard University Law School, who educated Thurgood Marshall and others, who ultimately eradicated Plessy versus Ferguson with the Brown case in 1954, who stated that you're either a social engineer or you are a parasite on society. This is what I wasn't going to be. I was going to be a fighter for justice, in spite of what people have said, or in spite of the fact that my life could be on the line. This is why I wrote the book. The second reason why I wrote the book is because the Nation of Islam and groups like this have a way, oftentimes, of using charisma to attract young people like yourself. You need to be given a fair chance, and everyone else, to read manuscript and to critique the organization for what it is. That's why I wrote the manuscript. Now, what about the Nation of Islam and its political and religious concept? What does it mean? In a time that we're living in now, that is highly complex, at a time when there is a war that is going on, we must understand the relationship between extremist groups in the United States and extremist groups in the Middle East. What do I mean by this? One, are any of you familiar with the fact that in the last 5 months, some militant Aryan groups in the United States have met with extremist groups in places like Lebanon? No, the media is not saying this at all. These types of things have been going on for a long time. How about the Nation of Islam? The Nation of Islam in the last 5 to 10 years have also met with these types of groups overseas. People like Mr. Gaddafi and Arafat and several others, Hussein, who have a relationship and see the need for the destruction and the fight against American society. The Nation of Islam and other groups must be critiqued and reviewed in this manner. One of the last things I'm going to make mention of before we do question and answer is that what does the Nation of Islam, terrorism, mean to Black America? It means simply this. One, we have to critique, review, and analyze. We must discuss the course of where we're going to go and what we're going to do. We have to understand who are the people who say they represent us and question them into a manner, are they leading us into the right direction? I'm going to stop at this time. It's getting hot up here. This heat, this light is something on me. Okay, to open up for questions and answers.
Okay. Okay, now I'm going to introduce to you, for we have him live on the phone, Dr. Vibert White. Now that you're a little familiar with some of what he believes in his own words. Now I will let you hear from him introduced in his own words. Dr. White, are you there?
Yes, good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I bear witness there is no God but Allah. Muhammad is his messenger. I am very, very happy and pleased to have been invited on this show to speak to the audience. I've traveled to Detroit many times, speaking at institutions, academic institutions, religious institutions, conferences, but I've never had an opportunity to speak to the community that I love, and that's the community of the brothers and sisters of Islam. Speaking to this community in Detroit is, to me, is speaking to the base of Islam in the United States. I call Detroit the Mecca of Islam in the United States, the place where we saw Khallid Muhammad, the place that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad worked so diligently to build an organization and to bring Islam to the forefront of our people and to the forefront of American society and life. Listening to that lecture, you know, I've given thousands of lectures over the years, and I completely forgot about that one.
Yes.
It's the first time I've heard it.
Yeah, back in 2001.
01 or 02, I'm not sure.
It was in 01.
Okay, and I'm
Yes,
sitting back, and I said, wow. Go on, Brother Vibert. And so, as you know, Brother Muhammad, as you speak, and sometimes you forget about things that you talk about, and and hearing it after many years refreshes your thoughts. So I thank you for the wonderful invitation, and I thank Allah and His Messenger in giving me the opportunity to speak on this great line of yours and to speak to the thousands of listeners throughout the country and perhaps the world.
Okay. I always like to give the guests a chance. You know, sometimes when we introduce people, we may leave out something that they deem is important that shouldn't be left out. I like to introduce myself to people. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in his last address to us that to those in the audience that we may not have recognized, I'm paraphrasing, he said, "You are welcome to make yourself known to us that we may give you credit for who you are or what you are." You see? So we always try to, I learned that when I was in the military, that you follow the last orders first. You always, no matter what orders the commander-in-chief give you, his last order is the one you pay most attention to, because that may countermand some other orders that he did give you. That's how peace is made in the midst of war. They may have told you to go and attack, and then they say, cease all hostilities.
Right.
Well, then it's time to stop all of that. Whatever you was getting ready to go do, it's time to stop.
Right.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's last words to us was, he said, respect everybody, and everybody will respect you. And so, you know, it took me a while to understand the wisdom of that. I've been practicing it, and that's why I understand the truth of it, because I've been practicing it.
Right.
So I want to, you know, I was born about 8 years before you. So, you know, and I was a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and knew Minister Farrakhan when he was representing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. For many people think that they have seen the Nation of Islam under the leadership of Minister Louis Farrakhan, but what you saw under Minister Farrakhan was not what was under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that is one of the things that many people don't realize. We even have lessons on that, where the messenger asked the question, he said, why did we take Jerusalem from the devil? And the answer was, because one of our righteous brothers, who was a prophet by the name of Jesus, was buried there. And they used his name to shield their dirty religion. And so many people, if you notice, you got more nations of Islams out here than you can shake a stick at now. But to keep us from getting misled, we need to know what the origin of the Nation of Islam is, and what is the basis upon which you place your judgment of what is the real Nation of Islam. They had a show used to come on called Truth or Consequences, or To Tell the Truth. I don't forget which one. I think it was To Tell the Truth. And Barry Gordy was on there once, and it was 3 of them saying they was Barry Gordy. But, you know, at the end, they asked, would the real Barry Gordy please stand? And then the real ones stood up. And the imposters, you know, even though they answered some of the questions correctly, some of the questions they answered just was incorrect. And so I want to show you an example. And this, you know, it's something that I admired about what you said in that lecture, about holding leaders accountable, holding leadership accountable. We must question. We must question. You must question me. I must question you. And we must be willing to let people question us. That's one of the ways you can tell when a person is not lying to you.
Right.
If a person is lying to you about whatever they say they're teaching you, they really don't desire you to ask a lot of questions. Right. But if they really believe that they are telling you right, they welcome your questions. And even if your questions manifest to them that they ain't telling you right, they happy then. Because they don't really want to fool you. They don't want to fool you, and they don't want to be fooled.
Right.
And so, you know, just because a person is not telling you the truth does not mean that they are lying to you. A lie is something that you say that is false, that you know is false, and you saying it to deceive a person.
Right.
But if you
I'm sorry.
But if you saying something that's false and don't know it's false, you can't be accused of lying. You can just be straightened out. People can correct you.
Yeah.
That's why we have the word correction. You see, people say that all the time. Hey, let me help you there. Let me correct you there. No, that's not so. That's all I'm offering right now, is that I don't want you to get away from what our true religion is. I don't want none of us to get away from that. The word Islam is not a label. The word Islam has a meaning, and it means entire submission to the will of God. Now that's why I chose Islam as my religion, because I want to do God's will, and I'm willing to do His will as long as He'll make it known to me what He wants me to do.
Right.
That's all I want to do. I want to do Allah's will. You see? And so, go ahead, Doc. I don't want to.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brother Muhammad. I mean, the Islam that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, by way of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, brought to us is right and exact for our people. A couple of days ago, I had the opportunity to go to the Muhammad Ali Museum in Louisville. Mm-hmm. It's a nice museum. And they looked at his movement as being a young fella who boxed in the East End of Louisville under the name of Cassius Clay. He came up and he met Malcolm X, and how he became a Muslim and so forth and so on. But one of the things that they missed is the impact that the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had on his life. And they kind of glossed over that, even when they had that program a few months ago that honored him for his birthday. And one thing that we have to make... Hello? Are we still here? Am I still on?
Yes, sir. You're still on.
I'm sorry, there's some feedback.
But
we have to understand is that if it wasn't for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, we would not see Islam in this country as it is today. Sometimes people say, oh, the Arabs and the Lebanese and the Syrians and so forth brought forth the Islam that we see, but it was the nation under that man from Georgia who laid the base. And that must be understood and realized. And secondly, when I wrote the manuscript and after I wrote it, some of my brothers and sisters said, why are you attacking the minister? And it's not the case that I was attacking the minister. All right, I think the minister is a human being. He has some very, very fine qualities, and he has some great things that he believes in and some things that are truth that must be understood and followed. However, as you stated, we as Muslims have always had a history of critiquing other people. You see? But if we want something to grow and to be better, we have to critique ourselves. So therefore, when we question and critique our brother and sister within Islam and within the Nation of Islam, doesn't mean that we're attacking. We want that, and it means merely that we want that person to be a better Muslim, a better leader, so the organization can grow and really fulfill its promise and its destiny. And if we cannot push each other, and sometimes that push is rough, sometimes it's harsh, sometimes it smells like some manure. But as we know, manure makes things grow so that we can be a stronger and truer self and a stronger and better people. And I think this is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted us to do, and this is what we should do. And so, yes, we have a lot of smaller groups, a lot of Nation of Islam that just came up from all over the place, but if they believe in what they're doing, then we have to critique them. We have to push the leadership to fulfill the promise of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Well, you know, one thing about claiming or using the name of an individual, or doing something in the name of, whether it's in the name of an individual, whether it's in the name of a document such as the Constitution or whatnot, the very name that you invoke sometimes will be your undoing.
That's right.
Because as Jesus said to those Jews who was fighting him, he said, I'm coming my Father's name, and you receive me not. And if another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. He said, think not that I will accuse you to the Father. There's one that accuseth you, even Moses, in whom you say you trust. You know, they invoked the name of Moses.
Right.
And he said, for had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words?
Right.
You can ask Minister Farrakhan, you can ask any of these brothers who are out there about something the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said on so many things, but in the Theology of Time lecture, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this. He said, ain't nobody coming behind me but God. I better tell you that. Okay, now he had already told us that God was one of us. But most of us, we don't know what God means. That he had even told us the meaning of God. When he said God, he wasn't talking about no spook. He was talking about the possessor of knowledge and understanding. The Holy Quran refers to Allah, or God, as the best knower. Now my next question is, and the next question any of us should have been asking is, well, if Allah is the best knower of what? Well, what is everybody disagreeing on? Everybody don't disagree on mathematics. There's a general consensus on mathematics. 10 times 10 is 100 all over the world. No matter what language you speak, 10 times 10 is 100.
Right.
Okay. When you could have learned English, you went to school and learned English in New York. I learned English in California. Yet the 8 parts of speech, nouns, verbs, nouns, pronouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, and conjunctions and all of this stuff, we all agree on those. When it comes to the alphabet, all of us know it's from A to Z. Nobody disagrees on that.
Right.
But when it comes to the Word of God, is you go to your church and I go to mine then. Well, now, we need a best knower on that. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we need a man that know today and not guess at the truth.
Right.
What truth he talking about? The truth that Jesus said in John the 17th chapter and the 17th verse. He said, sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. So when the scriptures say, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. It ain't talking about all of, you can't guide nobody into all of the truth that is. Because that's like saying you can count from beginning to end of the number system. You cannot. It does not end. And literally, it does not begin. Many people think it began with 1. No. 1 is what fractions add up to. So, everything is relative.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So we need now to not just know we've been in slavery. We need to know why.
Yes.
I mean, unless we subscribe to what Shakespeare, was it Shakespeare that said, life is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing?
That's right. That's right.
No, life ain't no tale told by no idiot. No.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we have to, there's no guesswork.
Right.
The time of guessing is over. If you guess, you die.
There you
Not
go.
just physically, but spiritually, and your entire environment dies. This morning, before I left my hotel, I was looking outside the hotel's window, and I was looking at the structure, and on the title of the structure was Jewish Hospital. And I said to myself, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us the key, all right, how to build, how to make a heaven on this earth, how to support our people. And I said to myself, the reason why that we do not have Muslim or African or black hospitals and institutions like this is because we thought that this man from Georgia did not have enough knowledge, that we thought that he was not smart enough, so we ran away from him eventually. Even though we said we believed in him, we ran away from him. We ran away from his teachings. And look at us. We need hospitals and institutions more now than ever before. So therefore, there has to be people, there have to be leaders to come up to refresh our memory